In today's video, I want to talk about the past. Something that I think that we're often told to leave in the past, or that our past doesn't define us, all those other things that go along with the past. And I think in the spiritual community, it's a pretty big topic because you have some people telling you to live in the now. You have some people saying forget the past. You have some people saying, the past doesn't define you and you need to leave it there. Those types of things. So I want to give you my opinion based on my own personal experience and just what my thoughts are. So I did take a few notes here just to keep me on track. So let's get started. It is, and I guess I should throw out a little disclaimer here. I've had a pretty gnarly past, so I'm speaking from my vantage point on all of this. This is not for everyone. I'm definitely not a therapist of any sort. Again, I'm just speaking from my personal experience and telling you things that maybe have happened to me and where I've, how I've come to this conclusion. So that being said, this is not a replacement for a therapist, a counselor, or anything like that. And also, too, depending on your past and the trauma that has been created in your life, maybe some of what I'm saying is going to be not so good for you to try to absorb. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. In witchcraft, I think that one of the most important things for me to learn was the importance of polarities. The opposites. Where there is good, there is bad. Where there is negative, there is positive. Where up, down, as above, so below, that kind of thing, okay? So as a witch myself, I think that I strive each and every day to find a balance between what I may perceive and label as good or bad, okay? Because for a long time, I lived from a space of being very upset and angry and hurt about my past. And needless to say, I think with anyone, that has the potential to throw up emotional blockages. I talked about that in one of my previous videos. But emotional blockages pretty much keep you from achieving the things that you want to achieve in your life. So, looking at dualistic things and recognizing that where there is good, there is evil, right? So, there's that. And then when it comes to anything in life, depending on, what you have learned thus far, one of the big sayings is that what you resist persists, okay? So if you are living if you're coming from a position of, forget the past, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to face it, then it's going to continue to cycle through. It will be on a loop pattern of emotion. That's how you will be experiencing it, from here on out, or where, from where maybe your trauma ended. You may still currently be living in a life that you're not very happy with. But what you resist persists. So if you have this attitude of, I'm not looking at it, I'm not going there, it will surface. It just will. So trying to forget or going with the notion of leaving it behind will create a whole new set of problems that you will eventually consider as your past, and now you've got to move through and get over those. So the way that manifested in my life was due to the trauma that I had in childhood, which was a whole range of just craziness. I had a mom who was absolutely amazing. She was my best friend. She was my everything. And when things happened to me and when I was finally able to tell her, she was right there. She was there for me, and she tried to understand, and we kind of worked through things together, right? I was living in Colorado at the time, and I remember that back then, and this is many moons ago, but I was 9, and at the time, I think that there was a steady fear of talking about the things that happened to me. She was afraid that if it got out, if we told like a counselor or a therapist about what was happening to me, what had happened to me, that I would for some reason I would be taken out of her care, and that terrified her. So my point is that she was my counselor, and she told me that we could talk about it and talk through it at any given time, and she was there for me. But she was too close to the situation, and I don't think that she was equipped to help me work through it. And yeah, so there was that, and I just hushed up. So my point is that I didn't get help at the time, and so fast forward, years and years later, I developed a drinking problem. And it was very insidious. It didn't start out like you would imagine. It wasn't just, it came on very slow and it crept in, and it was a problem before I had a chance to know that it was getting to be that way, if that makes any sense. But I think that the reason it became such a monster is because, yeah, I could talk to my mother about the things, and I could express how I was feeling completely to her, and she did understand, and she was able to talk me through a lot of the emotions and the pain and the hurt. But I was also told, at the time, that it's your past. Let's leave this in the past and let's move forward. Don't dwell in the past, that kind of thing. So, another thing that I wrote down here, and forgive me if this is a little bit, if it's not cohesive. This is just as I brainstorm and these things are downloaded. I write down these things and I just give them to you. So hopefully you can make sense of it. I put, is my past exactly as my mind perceived it, or has there been an edited version created through emotion? And what I mean by that is that a lot of times, like for instance, even now, as we get, if a thought pops up, and emotions are how these thoughts surface, these memories of the past or of this past trauma, they will resurface through emotion. And I'll get into that a little bit more later, but to stay on point, we have incredible minds, and it's not that you're making up what happened, it's just that, for instance, okay, the best way I know how to explain this is when I was young, I was absolutely in love, just thought I was just so in love with this particular individual, right? And that situation didn't work out. And that did traumatize me, because I think that in my mind, well, it's actually, it was a true feeling and collection of emotions, but I loved this person, and I didn't understand how that couldn't be reciprocated, and that left me so heartbroken. And but there were reasons, and I understood a lot of the reasons as to why this relationship couldn't actually take place. But in my mind, my perception was, we all have our own perceptions about how things can go, and we write the story about the outcome, and so, but a lot of times we need to understand that that's our perception. If I had stopped at the time and understood as a little young one that this person had their own set of concerns and maybe fears and discomforts with the idea of a relationship happening, then I think that there would have been a whole new understanding. But see, that's again where the past will actually, it sort of trains us, and it sort of helps us along, if you will. We look back, and if we can keep from labeling it all from the vantage point of our perceptions, and understand that there's a whole new set, there's another person involved with how these things go about, or how they come about, right? Then there's like sort of a middle ground there. You can kind of disconnect a little bit and go, wait, okay, that person has their own set of fears, or situation standards, or just the way they look at the situation, right? So that's the only way I know how to describe where I'm coming from that, because I think that we mentally edit the pain to be as much or as little, or the reasoning behind the whole trauma and how it came about, and how we were a victim, and all of that, not minimizing any trauma that you've been through, because I think I can relate. So my next thing here is that the past, again, what I just said, it is our greatest teacher. I wouldn't be sitting here making this video if it not be for my past. I wouldn't have the thing to talk about, right? If I had had this charmed life, or, picture perfect family life, or growing up was just a breeze for me, right? So hopefully now I'm able to come on here and say something that maybe plants a seed, or gives you some sort of hope, or understanding. At least that's my wish. That's my intent with making any of the videos that I do make. So yeah, it's your biggest teacher. Whether it's something that was done to you, or it's something that you did in your past that you're not really proud of, right? You know what not to do now, or certain things to avoid, people to avoid, situations. Yeah, so it really is a teacher, and I think it's kind of, there's a beauty in that, if you think about it. Some of the absolute most famous and talented people on this planet have come from traumatic experiences. And it's not because they just forgot about their past. I think that was the driving force behind their passion to do better, or do something great. So I don't know, that's just my feeling. It has been my teacher, and I do go back to it, and I do dig into it, and I'll get to that a little bit more in a minute. Your past is your foundation. Regardless if we want to be proud of it, or we're happy with it, it is our foundation. And as I talk about this, I'm not saying that you should go into thoughts, or when you have an emotion that drags up something really, really horrible from your past. I'm not telling you to kind of park there and sort of swim in that doubt, or fear, or hurt, or anger, whatever it might be. You don't have to stay there, but definitely be aware, where is this coming from? That kind of thing. It's sort of, the way I like to look at it is, the emotions will come up, and that gives you a chance to reflect and dive into where that emotion is, where is it coming from. Because if you don't, like I said, it will just loop back, and it will resurface again until it is faced head on. You have to address it. And things are talked about a lot. You see all over YouTube, which I will be getting into as well. I'm going to jump on that bandwagon of shadow work. How are you supposed to do shadow work if you are supposed to leave your past in the past, right? It kind of contradicts itself. But so yeah, it's your foundation. Your parents, the way that they raised you, the way that you got along in school. If that was if school was not a happy place for you, that definitely created some trauma. And trauma doesn't have to be something that's this huge, expansive, horrible thing. Trauma can actually occur from, you get a bad grade on one of your tests at school and for some reason you're singled out. Or you weren't picked for the kickball team. That was me. Nobody wanted to pick me because I had these skinny little chicken legs, and so I was always the last to get picked. So, but that had its place in hurting my heart and making me feel like I wasn't enough, and nobody wanted me for their team. But yeah, so anytime that there are those emotions that arise, you can sort of look back at your foundation, which is your past. So it's a place from which you can be proud of yourself, delving into your past and looking at the things that both made you proud of yourself and the things that make you feel bad, whether it was a mistake that you made or something that was done to you. There's never always bad. So pick out the positive things from your past too. I think that will be incredibly helpful. I put down here that your past has helped you, and it can help others. Again, it has helped you in the way of giving you contrast. If you didn't know bad, how can you know good, right? You wouldn't have any contrast there. So I think that it shows you what evil or hurt or pain or jealousy or anger, those types of things, it gives you, you've gone through those, right? And so it has shown you the contrast of where you were and what hurt and what not to have, as opposed to where maybe, hopefully you're in a good place at this point in time. And it shows you, where you came from. You have the ability to help others. Because I will let you know, I went through 3 years of counseling, and I mean deep, heavy counseling. And though it was incredibly helpful, and I absolutely had such a great connection with my therapist, that wasn't the same as some of the help that I have gotten through watching videos of other people who have struggled. Yeah, I mean, just being able to hear someone and listen to how maybe they've gotten through their traumas and how they've overcome a horrible past is helpful. So just know that even if you're in the midst of something horrible right now, in a way, think of that as a positive thing, because as my mother taught me growing up, when you hit rock bottom, there's only one place to go, and that's up. So, yeah, and that was my next topic. Our point was that it creates relatability, and gives you a chance to help others in the future. So, it shows you the things that, if your past is sort of, if you just have failures that you think of, or choices that you made, and I certainly do, you can look at those things and know now what to not repeat, right? A lot of my circumstances came from the environment that I would put myself in, the relationships that I chose that were completely not healthy. But by going through those things, I learned. Yeah, and then taking a peek at your past, looking into it, and if you've evolved from it, and you're not in the hell now, it shows you that you can move through and you can prevail. And I think that it's really healthy to look at that, regardless of where you may be now or or what your past was. You got through it. You're still here, and that's incredibly beautiful. So, you know. And then I wrote down that your past is your therapy. And that might sound odd, but for me, a lot of times it is. You know, I will look at my past and remember things and choices that I made and go, okay, now I see it. And truth be told, a lot of times when I go back and I look at a specific thing that happened, I could do that today about a particular trauma, and I could come to some sort of understanding about it today. But then if I go back in next week and do the same thing about the same topic or same trauma, I may come to an even greater understanding, more clarity. So it gives us the opportunity to reveal what is good about us and what needs work. When I keep saying how your past will resurface, what I mean is, and I think I did mention this earlier, it comes in the form of emotion. So if you're in a relationship with someone and you're experiencing a lot of jealousy, you know, you have those emotions of jealousy that pop up. If you can catch yourself in the moment of that emotion and sort of go, okay, hold on, is it really this person that's creating this this negative emotion? Or is it coming from my past? Is it coming from like a false belief that I have based on trauma that happened to me in the past, right? That kind of makes us stop in the middle of that emotion, and it makes us sort of stop writing a story that may not even be true. You can sort of peg that past trauma and go, okay, that's why I'm doing this. That's where this insecurity is coming from. And that's where the false beliefs are coming from. I also put down here that your past is a catalyst for your future. And it is. Like, there's no denying that if you are involved in a traumatic past, if you have horrible memories of your past, your childhood, obviously depending on how heavy the trauma was, you didn't want to be there. You didn't want that kind of life. That's not what you signed up for, right? And so my feeling is that gives you, it fuels your passion for a better future and for change. And only you're the one that can create that for yourself. And regardless of where you are now, if you have tried to, sometimes we can't help it. We do repress our past. I know for a fact there is a lot of stuff that I have forgotten about just because of the beautiful gift of, you know, our mind being able to sort of safeguard us until we're ready to look at those things and bring them to the forefront and deal with them. So just know that regardless of your past, whether it was mistakes that you made that you're ashamed of or bothered by, it just gives you fuel to make a better future for yourself. And then the last couple of things that I put down here before I finish up is that, you know, if you can, try what I was talking about in the very beginning about the polarities. You know, you've got the bad and you've got the good, right? Sort of the best place in magic and in the craft that you can sort of try to position yourself is right in the middle, you know, right in the middle. You see the bad and you see the good. And then you find that middle path. Instead of hard and cold and fast labeling it as one or the other, come at your memories from a place of compassion. And I will give you a for instance. My abuser was my stepfather, and my abuse was from the age of 4 until 9. There was a lot of pain there. And, you know, I would say, I don't want to say I don't hurt anymore, but I never really stopped and tried to place myself in the middle of this scenario. It was always, he was wrong, he's evil, I can't believe this happened to me, you know, I'm the victim of this evildoer. And then this is the odd part too, is that on the right side of the situation was when he wasn't being horrible and doing those things to me, he was good. He was a great stepdad, and I loved him. And so you've got the bad and you've got the good. And as I was beginning to heal, I started to look at this. I kind of pulled myself back. I sort of zoomed out and tried to, well, I didn't try to. It actually just came to me through years of living in my past. But as the healing began, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I looked at him as not good or bad, but as a person. And truth be told, this person had to have endured something himself, right? Doesn't make the act right or justified or even okay or anything like that. But something happened to him, because on the one hand, he was a normal dad figure for me and did all the normal father figure things, but then there were the bad times, right? So I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that I met those memories and I met that trauma with the eyes of compassion. Something happened. And I'm not responsible for his upbringing. I'm not responsible for that thing that flipped a switch in his mind. And I'm not responsible for the monster that that did those things. And that sort of outlook, I guess, that goes along with even the choices that I made as an adult when I got older. And like I said, drinking became a problem. I'm not mad at myself. I know that where I was coming from was a place of hurt and trauma. And so, I don't know. I guess I'm so grateful for my past. It has been a long journey, and I think we all learn things in our own time and in our own way. But this is sort of me putting it out there that, you know, this idea of just forgetting your past and just letting it go, to me, that's insane. You don't have to swim in it. You don't have to think that you're still there. But you can't. Those things were very firmly planted in your young mind, regardless actually of when you went through the trauma. It was planted there, you know. And there's an emotion attached to it, and that emotion is going to be your way out. That is going to be your way to freedom. You know, anything that comes up, see, you know, a negative emotion comes up, and you can actually stop and peg it and go, where is this coming from? Is it really this situation, or does it have to do with the past? And then move through it. So, and then, you know, and then the last part of this is just look at yourself and understand that you are a divine being. Every single person is divine in their own way, and each and every one of us are very different. There's a place within you that no one, and it's the beautiful space within you that no one can take away from you. Your sacred space, right? That's something that it doesn't matter. The future, the past, the now, there is that space within you. Just know that, you know. No, you're not your past, and you're not the things that happened to you. But if you kind of don't allow yourself to polarize the events as absolutely horrible, then you might be able to sort of wiggle free and work through these things. And I think that on that note of working through them, Like I said, when the emotion arises, whether it's, any of the yucky emotions, the ones that we label as negative, jealousy, anger, fear, denial, regret, remorse, any of those, take a peek at it and go, okay, why am I feeling this way? And then, like I said, see if it is something that's related to trauma, because 9 times out of 10, it is related to your past. It's something that has been stuck and planted in your head, and you can work through that by just giving it a spin. Look at it from a different viewpoint. Meditation will be key in this process as well. If something comes to your mind during the day, just that's bothering you, a lot of times I used to have little flashbacks, and meditation became a huge part of my healing process. You can use tarot cards, ask questions regarding your past using the tarot. Let's see, dream work is also another way to heal. Writing your dreams down, just regular dream journal or just a journal that you already have. I don't know, I think that's about it, but just like I said, it's not necessary to just try to put your past behind you. It's, I think, about not resisting the memories, not resisting the pain. Because once you get to a point where you can actually look at the memories from a place of compassion and understanding, then that's your freedom. Once you begin to heal those particular traumatic experiences, you're going to find that the thoughts and the emotions attached to that are replaced by goodness and love and compassion. As crazy as that might sound, it's true. And again, the experience is the wisdom, and that's how I can talk to you now about these things, is through my experience. So that being said, I really hope that you guys have gotten something from this video. My intention with every video that I make is to just to let you know that I see you, and give you some idea of hope, I guess. So just remember that you are divine and you are loved, and I'm grateful for you. And again, I hope I've helped. So until the next video, be blessed, and yeah, so thanks for spending some time with me. See ya.